Vibrant dance of cultures intertwined, South Africa and UK artists unite. This says bodies sway, telling stories of endurance, whilst also echoing the secrets of a changing world. Well, that's just a sneak peek into the 2024 Body Moves International Inclusive Dance Festival. It's hosted by Sibikwa Arts Centre. The event celebrates diversity and collaboration in the arts, and this year's festival features lively partnerships between South Africa and UK artists, including a 2-week residency with renowned deaf dancer and choreographer Mark Smith, culminating in performances that explore the impact of climate change on deaf and disabled communities through innovative dance elements. So this morning we're joined by two pioneers at the forefront of this movement. Caryn Green, CEO of Sibikwa Arts Centre, together with Rachael Veazey, of course, is a seasoned creative producer and founder of Very Easy Productions. And together, they're collaborating on the upcoming Body Moves International Inclusive Dance Festival, which showcases the power of dance and the arts. Good morning to the both of you, and thank you for your time at this hour.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Caryn, let's start with you and look at the significance, the importance of inclusive dance moves, perhaps also the cultural collaborations that come as a result based on your research.
Yeah, so really very important that we are doing this work. I think that there is a lot to be done in relation to collaboration between the global north and the global south, as well as finding platforms and finding spaces to bring visibility to people from marginalized communities, such as the disabled community.
Yes. Absolutely. And Rachael, let me bring you then into the conversation, because your work looks at deaf and disabled people or persons. Talk to us about incorporating that into your unique elements.
So I've always been really passionate about deaf, disabled and neurodivergent artists. I've always felt, obviously my context is the UK, and I feel that there are so many barriers for deaf and disabled artists to overcome: access to funding, access to spaces. And I've always been really passionate about trying to be an ally and try and amplify these incredible artists and their voices and try and get those platformed so people as well in the audience can see themselves reflected on stage and in spaces, so they can feel that perhaps a career in the arts is for them too.
Yes, and they can also take up space. You're a qualified sign language interpreter as well, and so communication as a result in putting all of this together, relaying that. Talk to us about what that actually entails.
Absolutely. So I am a qualified interpreter, but that work is quite separate. So I do work that interpreters usually do. I will go to hospital, court, and workplaces, and I will work as an interpreter. But where my interpretation skills help in my creative producing is that I have direct access to the deaf artists that I work with. We can communicate in their first and preferred language, and we're not constantly going through an interpreter. We can have direct conversations, and it just speeds up the process, and also it's about everyone feeling comfortable in that space together.
No, absolutely. Working with Mark Smith Productions, I mean, talk to us about the significance of that, but all the impact that it's had as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it's really incredible to be able to have met and worked with Mark Smith, and to be working across multiple disabilities is also quite interesting. It's a learning process for all of us, particularly that, I mean, British Sign Language and South African Sign Language is not the same. The way somebody in a wheelchair and the way somebody that uses crutches doesn't communicate and move the same. So there's so much learning and so much deeper understanding that we are benefiting from through this collaboration, that hopefully we will be able to take forward and continue to create change in the space of inclusive dance.
Perhaps we could speak about some of those workshops on offer for the youth, perhaps also just understanding the plight, but really the impact and the options available.
Yeah, I mean, accessibility is such a big challenge.
Yes.
Whether it's accessibility in relation to a disability or accessibility in relation to other socioeconomic factors. So we've been running a number of workshops in township and peri-urban areas, including Diepsloot, Orange Farm, Alex and Braamfontein, where marginalized groups aren't actually able to access many arts events and initiatives. So to be able to bring the arts out to them, to be able to enjoy and to celebrate and to engage with them is really a big value for us as much as for the people that we are taking this art to.
Yes, because important themes beyond accessibility and inclusivity is climate change. How is that incorporated into this year's initiative?
So we've created together, the UK and South African team have created a piece called Synergy, and it's in 3 acts. Okay. And we've been exploring really topics that are important to us. And obviously there will always be, the work that we present will always come through a deaf, disabled or neurodivergent lens, because those are the stories that we're telling. But we're also looking at what is the impact of climate change on a deaf, disabled or neurodivergent person. We were thinking, in retrospect, when we look back at COVID and how, especially in the UK, there was a huge movement, deaf people felt very excluded, there wasn't proper public interpretation when there were briefings coming out from the UK government, and there was a lot of movement about that, and deaf and disabled people feeling very left behind during COVID, and we sort of thought, we'll take that forward. If it was a climate emergency, where does that leave us? If we can't even, with all our technology, if we can't even get information out to people in an accessible format during COVID, what's going to happen when the Earth is on fire? So that was kind of the lens that we looked at. That was the creative lens that we took to the initial formation of the first part of Synergy. And then coming over to South Africa, we've talked a lot about challenges in terms of load shedding, load reduction. We've talked about the impact and issues of climate change. And with dance, it's very interpretive. So it's not, it's different to theatre. So the message will be more physical and, yes, it won't be so, it's not verbalised.
Yes.
But it's there in the work and in the choreography.
Because communication happens on many fronts, not just spoken. I just want to wrap up and look at, you know, the dates, the times, how people can access this, what you're most proud of for this year's initiative, this year's event as well, Caryn, as we wrap up.
Thank you. I'm really proud that we are working with this artists from the UK. Really proud that we are taking the festival out to various venues in Gauteng and in the Western Cape. And yeah, there'll be performances at Sibikwa Arts Centre in Benoni on the 21st and 22nd of November, at the Market Theatre on the 24th of November, and in Cape Town as part of the Unmute Arts Ability Festival from the 25th of November to the 7th of December. And all of this information is online on our social media pages and on our website. You can just search for Sibikwa Arts Centre or any of the partners that we are working with, and all that information will be there.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning and for being part of this important story. Access, inclusivity at large, equity and obviously equality. We'll leave the conversation there and leave the rest up till the interpretations and that dance that's happening, of course, a little later on in November. Caryn and Rachael this morning sharing some of their perspectives and the invaluable work within the arts community. Again, Body Moves International Inclusive Dance Festival promises to be an enriching experience for both artists and audiences alike, breaking down barriers, fostering dialogue around inclusivity. And again, that festival taking place across different venues in Gauteng and the Western Cape between the November 21st and December 7th, including performances, interactive workshops, and discussions, all aimed at fostering inclusivity and accessibility in the arts.